Enduro. What bike are we looking at?
Welcome to tonight's show. Today, we're going to be talking, we're going to take a little time machine trip. Mountain biking has seen some incredible advancements over the past decade, but has it come at a cost? And well, new bikes boast refined geometry, lighter materials, electronic shifting, the core innovations that revolutionized mountain bikes over the last 10 years. 10 years. Things like, tapered head tubes, solid front and rear axles that bolt in, make your wheel very strong. Single front chain rings, one by drivetrains, dropper C posts. We're already coming on bikes in 2015. Actually, some bikes had those features in 2014.
What?
But they became more standard on bikes in 2015.
And later.
Yeah, the Kona process, the specialized enduro, the Remedy 9, and Santa Cruz Nomad all had these features 10 years ago. This begs the question, is it worth investing in a brand new bike in 2025? Or can you get nearly the same performance by saving money on a slightly older model? Maybe a 2019, maybe a 2021, saving cash. In this breakdown, we compare the prices and specifications of the most popular mountain bikes by the most popular brands out today. And we're going to see. We've also adjusted the price for inflation, because this was 10 years ago.
So long ago.
And we all know how expensive eggs have gotten.
The most.
So we're going to jump right into this. The next thing, this was actually inspired by another creator.
I kind of just want to mime the whole show while you talk.
Well, I just, bam!
Yeah, we're going to get you a proper teleprompter next week.
Well,
buddy.
yeah. Instead of looking down, I'll look straight in your soul.
Right into your
Soul
holes, your soul hole.
Soul hole.
It's a thing.
Let's bring.
You want to bring up?
Let's bring this video.
Fire up the inspiration.
Yeah, we'll put a link to this.
You know us. We're lovers of the short form video. So. Oh wait, it's going.
Oh.
Do I need to re-go it?
Yeah, let's re-go it.
Stop. We are working on our technicalities.
All right, it's ready for you.
All right.
This new bike is going to change mountain biking forever. With super progressive geometry, this thing is long, low, and slack. The freaking seat post goes up and down. Yeah, and we used to have 2 chain rings, now we only have 1 to simplify things. To fit different styles of riding, there are multiple wheel size options. Oh, and this full-blown enduro rig only weighs 27 pounds. We got some questions out there?
So you're saying that this goes uphill way better and downhill way better, and it doesn't feel like you're just gonna flip over the handlebars?
Yes.
Oh my, people are going to love this. Introducing our new bike. Let's see what we got here. So the suspension design is exactly the same. It has 2 new colors. The chainstays have grown by 1 millimeter. There is a little cubby in the down tube for all of your snacks. It uses headset cable routing, and it weighs only 39 pounds, and we have increased the price. All right, any questions? Any takers, anyone?
Is this thing gonna be 40% off in 2 months?
Most likely.
All right. And we
Definitely.
are back.
Yes, it will.
This new bike is going to change.
It is over.
I hope that worked, because I felt strange saying no things while other things were happening.
Yeah, it's the first time playing a video within a video. But
That little video got us thinking the other day.
who is that from? The Lost Ride Lost
Yeah.
at Ride. We'll put a link in the description.
Yeah, they sell things.
Oh.
That's a website that sells bike stuff, which is interesting that they are not in the interest of selling Losco, World's Local Bike Shop is what they call themselves. I bought some from them before. Good for them, making fun of the actual state of things. All right, so let's kind of get to where we're going a little bit here. I'd be curious, Nick, to know what bike were you... Oh, wait, what happened here? Riding, there we go, 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
And are you going to wear those earphones the whole time?
Yeah. Hold on, let me adjust. I was mixing the record, so, you know.
They're not doing that.
Oh, 10 years ago.
10 years ago, what bike were you riding?
I was riding the Kona Hanzo, actually.
A hardtail? Was it still a hardtail?
It was still a hardtail, and it was awesome. Best hardtail ever, which had many of the innovations that we've talked about. But then, a few years later, I picked up a Kona Process 167 on closeout because it had 26-inch wheels. $5,000 bike for $19.99. Dropper post.
So you guys smoking deal.
Smoking deal.
Smoking deals don't count, but okay.
RC2 Lyric.
Okay.
Vivid Air Shock. 1x11 EXO whatever.
Yeah.
Drivetrain. Premium bike. And a seat with titanium rails. I've never had that before.
Ooh, fancy.
But I picked that up. The reason I bring that up is that was a 2015 model that they could not sell because it had
What? Why?
26-inch wheels.
Oh,
So I picked
it had
that
the
up.
wrong wheels.
I picked that up. So that was a 10-year-old model bike. This was back in 2018. So I picked that bike up in 2018. It was awesome. It was a mini downhill bike that ripped. It was a little long travel for what I like to do on the daily ride. But that thing was amazing.
What was the travel again?
167.
That's such an odd number.
And yeah, so it was 6 inches and some change. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I prefer just under 6. It's in the rear.
That's your happy place?
That's my happy place.
That's your happy place. Okay, great.
It hops. It's nimble. Once you start getting over 6 inches of travel, it starts to get a little like not as nimble. Not in the fun zone.
You want to see what I was riding in 2015?
Bring it on me, big papa.
It's right here, baby. I was in 2015. I believe I was still riding a 2014 Scott Genius 700 Premium. This bike right here.
What?
I was 2014 was the first season when I had the store that we signed on as a Scott dealer. So this was part of the first crop of bikes that we brought in. One of the obviously the top end bikes that they made. It was, I think, 150 travel front and back right in there. Yeah.
What are all those things on the crank?
There's extra gears on the crank set. There's 3 of them on the crank set.
So you had like
gears. Yeah.
You had like 28 gears,
Well,
29 gears, 30 gears.
An interesting thing about me is I took the big gear off and the small gear off of that bike as well as the derailleur, and
You made your own one by.
and I just made it. Yeah, which I'd been doing for a few years already, even before SRAM kind of came out with theirs. I was ahead of the curve, baby.
Yeah.
I ditched big rings a very long time ago and small rings. Well, but that's was sort of a byproduct of riding single speeds in my 20s. Once I kind of ditched that and started riding geared bikes more, it was pretty much just I was a gear masher and didn't need all the gear, so riding a 1x, even if it was a 32 front ring with an 1134 in the back, it was fine for me.
Dude, I made my first 1x in the year 2001. And it was terrible because the chain fell off every 5 minutes.
Oh, hell yeah. All right. So I reached out to some of my friends to ask them what they were riding in 2015. And I'm not sure. I wasn't sure if anyone was going to be able to respond. But I do have a response in the chat. Let me get to it here. You guys don't need to see my whole Facebook feed, but this is
Oh, is that Yeti?
That is a Yeti SB 60, maybe something like that. Probably
66.
The heater's kicking on. I'm gonna turn it off. What was that
Yeah.
bike? Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's what Big L was riding in 2015. Proof, February 24th. Almost to the day he pulls
Damn.
this photo out. February 14th, 2015.
Maybe it came
Almost
up
to
in-
the day. Well, we know he was doing that day. So he looks like he's got a 1x, some Saint brakes on there, a dropper post, externally run. I think those are those 26. Those are 26-inch wheels. I think. Isn't that what the SB1, the SB
Yeah.
60 or 66,
60 something.
something like that. They've had so many
Yeah.
different names, but that's what he was on 10 years ago. I was on Carbon Scott with 3 chain rings and XTR dual piston brakes.
Premium, lightweight. Componentry.
Let me follow this question up with you. Would you, the bike you had in 2015, would you take it now?
Absolutely.
I would not.
Dude.
I mean, it'd be fine, but it wouldn't. It'd be fine,
So,
but it would not be near capable of the bikes I have currently.
in that era, I also had the Santa Cruz that came out. They did their like single pivot bike. Remember that for like a really short period of time?
Yeah.
God, I can't
Was that
remember
the
what it's
Heckler?
called. There was the Heckler, but they did another one.
They did another one in there
A
somewhere.
6-inch travel bike, which
Okay.
I really liked. But it did have a quick release rear wheel. And quick releases, no go for me. They're too wiggly.
That's true. Quick
Yeah, I
releases
mean-
are a no-go.
They're a little mushy. Like when you're ripping,
Yeah.
they're a little mushy. They're like, oh, and then you get solid axles and you're like, oh.
Okay, so let's get back to comparing some of our apples and apples. I'm trying to find out. This bike, what did this bike cost? It weighed 25 pounds. This Scott that I rode in 2015 at 150 mil travel, it weighed 25 pounds. You want to know the last time I rode a 25-pound bike? 10 years ago. I think it became illegal to make bikes that light at that travel after 2015.
I don't know.
That's so fucking light.
I think
I don't know how much this bike costs.
the bike I'm on now, I don't think isn't too far behind that.
There's no way your bike now is 25 pounds.
It's not far behind. It's a
30.
little heavier.
It's at least 30.
No, it's I've weighed it. I think
No,
with
if you
heavy,
if you had weighed it, you would remember, and you don't.
it's 27. We gotta weigh
27?
it. We gotta weigh it.
All right.
But
Well,
is your point that bikes were also a bit lighter because they didn't have the a little bit beefier setup?
well, yeah, but kind of my point is I think that this bike and me would disagree now on what kind of bike riding we want to do.
Yeah.
I would call this Scott Genius, even though it was a 150 mil bike. At that point, it still just had a 32 mil stanchion fork, two piston
wiggly.
brakes. It was basically a longer travel cross country bike.
Yeah.
Fast as fuck. Like you could pedal this thing and just like a rocket. But anytime you started, the problem with rockets is you come into like the mean stuff at high speed, and suddenly you're piloting Apollo 13 and trying to get back into the atmosphere.
Maybe it didn't have progressive geometry as some of the
it
kids.
had progressed beyond something previous to itself. So I don't know that you can say that it wasn't, but
I just want to articulate what made it more of a cross-country feel than our modern enduro bike.
I think the weight combined with a general sort of flexibility.
It looks like it's maybe you have a little bit of a high bottom bracket, a little bit of a steep head tube angle.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's not all about just components too. Geometries have changed drastically. And Kona was one of the brands that I felt really brought that to the mainstream. Like a lot of smaller brands were doing it, but then when they came out with the Hanzo, that was a bike that like not a lot of people were doing that style of geometry. Slack head tube angle, really low bottom bracket, really short chain stays. The chain stays were so short that you couldn't put a derailleur on the front, so it had to run a 1x.
Sure.
And it was like you get on it and it felt like a big dirt jumper. Like I could manual that bike. I could sit back and
you can manual like adult recumbent tricycle if you wanted to.
Yeah, sometimes, but
you
like
have the skills, so like
a 29
for you to be like, I could manual that bike, it doesn't mean fucking nothing to me.
Yeah, but it like I could like it
now
wasn't
if you were
hard.
like you can manual, I'd be like, well, now we're talking magic tricks.
I think you
now
could.
we're talking
You
magic
gotta train.
tricks. Yeah, train. The last thing I want to do when I get on a bike is consider what I'm doing training. I just want to go have fun.
You gotta train, dude.
Do not have the time to include portions of my bike riding time as like practice.
Training can be fun.
You're probably not wrong. I have not been able to make it feel like such. So
in this comparison, the first bike I'd like to compare is the Kona Process. They don't make the 167 anymore, so we have to do the next best thing, which is the 153. And compared to the DL from 2015 to 2025, the price difference is in 2015 it was $5,000. In 2025 it is $5,500. Okay. So adjusted for inflation, the bike has actually gotten a little less expensive.
So the 2015 Kona Process
153 DL.
153. That's such a name. All right, and how much did ChatGPT say that bike cost?
It said it cost $5,000. Pretty healthy. It's an XT, good build. 2015 dropper post.
What's that?
It is an aluminum frame.
So aluminum frame.
Which, who cares? Like,
I'm trying to pull up some deets on this bike, but I gotta scroll through a bunch of photos. Sorry guys, give me a sec. Nick did his homework, and I was trying to augment the homework.
But adjusted for inflation, that bike would have been $6,500 10 years ago, and now it's $5,500. The latest
right.
DL.
And what would $6,500 get you from Kona now?
That's a good question.
I'm going to pull up Kona bikes, and we're going to find out what's $6,500 going to get you from Kona bike. So that bike was $6,500,
adjusted for inflation,
or fit 5,000.
Yeah, 153. The CR DL, so it's a carbon frame. Oh, the regular DL is $3,000. Dude, the Kona prices are pretty low these days. We are not paid by Kona or affiliated by Kona.
But Kona is killing it in the pricing right now. Well, yeah, they halfway closed down.
So they have the CR, so they have a carbon option that's $5,000, and then they have an aluminum option that is $3,000. Now, one thing that I have noticed on these models is to get the same level of suspension.
Yeah,
you need to go up to the highest one. The quality of the suspension that comes on,
oh, here it is. Yeah.
Those are not as good as the 2025 model.
The 2015 sees the Process 153 DL go up to $5,399 Canadian.
Yeah.
I don't want to convert Canadian into inflation. That sounds too difficult. Some of my friends have responded with some of the other bikes they were riding in 2015. So I'd like to.
Ooh.
So
Kona has gotten cheaper, but their quality of their suspension has come down. But then some of the The drivetrain components have the
Well, and it's converted into carbon more so.
yeah.
Yeah. Is the greater prevalence of carbon fiber negatively impacting what you get in a bike relative to the cost?
I would take better suspension over a carbon frame.
Agreed.
Frame and
100%.
fork.
Yep. Frame, fork, wheels, brakes, all over carbon frame.
Yeah. I mean, even I would take crappy wheels because I know I'm just gonna like dent them and mess them up.
Oh, you shouldn't do that.
You know, like where you're at in your riding career, if you're sending it and jumping stuff, like just get crappy wheels you know you're gonna break. If you're like, hey,
Yeah, or know how to rebuild them.
yeah, I'm gonna
Which is
lay
what I
back,
do. Yeah.
and I'm gonna take it easy. I might
Yeah.
buy some nice wheels.
Yeah, fair enough. Here, let me show you what else some other people were riding in 2015.
What do we got here?
We've got I should have thought of this one. Bronson, Santa Cruz Bronson.
Oh,
That was probably more
holy
popular
cow.
than the Nomad back in 2015. Bronson that was kind of hitting its stride about then. And here we've got a Bronson.
I think it just came out.
How many chain rings?
Dose.
Do. Yep.
2 chain rings.
It does have a Fox 36 on it, so that was nice to see. Bigger fork coming on bikes. Looks like it's XT level bike. I don't know what model this was. I'm going to try to find it real quick. Santa Cruz Bronson C. Give me a sec. It's this one here. Whew. Although that's got a 1x. That's the same paint job. Different bike.
Ooh. Those angles are looking a little steep. Got steep angles on there.
Yeah, things did have steep angles. This is true. Maybe this is a 14. Maybe he was still on a 14 in 15. No, that's not that color. That colorway is not coming up. Damn. Wow.
Well, next,
So he was on a Bronson. What else?
So I
One of my other
compared.
friends sent.
I did the Nomad because I compared all enduro bikes.
Yeah.
So kind of everything comparable from Trek, Specialized, Kona, and Santa Cruz from the time. Also bikes that have all been out for 10 plus years.
Right.
Which
Here's
I did
a
not realize.
transition. Looks like a transition.
Is that Adam Proside?
That's Adam's bike, yeah. Adam sent that
Oh,
one.
yeah.
Said again, almost to the day, February 10th, 2015. Adam was riding a transition. I don't know, something
Is
or
that
other.
Covert?
Covert, yeah. Transition Covert. This is great. I love this bike because Adam is what, like 6 feet 14 inches or something like that.
Yeah, he's like 6'12".
Yeah, something like that. And look at his. So he's obviously got a giant seat post, but just a little baby dropper post. It's got like 100 mil drop on that thing. Oh, that's fantastic.
That is one thing that has gotten bigger is the amount of dangle for your dropper. But I did the Santa Cruz Nomad XO1. So it does have access. The newer one has access, but
Okay.
in 2015 you would have paid $6,600.
For a Santa Cruz Nomad.
Yeah.
With what?
That's the XO equivalent. That guy. I mean, Santa Cruz usually did a Shimano build and a SRAM build and gave you like a good or better back
Okay.
then. They didn't have like a complete bike. You bought like a kit. You still had to build them. They didn't come, I don't think they came even pre-assembled. They may have started to come pre-assembled around the Bronson.
Yeah, because here's one with like Envy wheels and stuff on it.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's all about.
Says the XO Axis.
XO axis, okay.
So that build kit, that will cost you $8,400. When you adjust for inflation, you would have paid $8,000 for the 2015.
Okay.
So if inflation even exists.
So
in
obviously we're
world.
trying to find as close to apples and apples as we can. We're not the best journalists, but it's kind of like a similarly
Speak for yourself.
spe-
I use ChatGPT.
similarly spec'd bike with maybe some changes in like frame or whatever like that, you're getting it's kind of looking like you're getting a little bit more bike for your money now than we did 10 years ago.
They're swapping certain things out. Like, I think suspension is getting less sophisticated, is kind of what I'm seeing the trend is. Versus, like, where are they saving money? And that's going to be, they're not giving you, like, the RC2, Lyric. They're giving you just, like, a more basic compression rebound adjustment fork. I think that's one place where money's getting cut. Then wheels, electronic shifting, modern geometry may justify the price.
Yeah, I wonder how much electronic shifting is. Well, I mean, interesting. I'm really struggling to find like the prices of these bikes. I know that, or find the same model that I wanted to find from 2015.
I mean, so the Nomad is actually just a couple $100. The modern
Different.
Nomad's a couple $100. So,
and
like,
nowadays you're getting, equally across the board, carbon frame, carbon wheels, the top of the line or mid to top, upper top of the line drivetrain, and pricing's about the same, adjusted if not cheaper,
yeah, about the same, couple $100 more.
or a couple $100 more in this case.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but $400 difference. That's the difference. I mean, the big point of this was like, where have bikes gotten better? A lot of the same technology has been out.
Yeah.
So what are we looking at with what you're buying? The next bike is the Specialized Enduro Expert.
Specialized Enduro Expert 2015.
Now this one's crazy.
The carbon
Expert.
Specialized Enduro Expert Carbon 650B.
Yes.
Okay.
In 2015, you would have paid $6,600 for this.
And you'd get a carbon frame. You'd get SRAM 1x X01. You would get Cane Creek DB air inline shock. You'd get a Pike RC fork. You would get Guide RS brakes. Okay.
So here's the crazy part.
And how much was this bike? 6,500?
66.
6,600. Okay. 6,600 exo build carbon bike. Gotcha.
But I think they put aluminum back end on it. There's like a,
Yeah, it had aluminum.
yeah,
rear end.
not
for sure.
total carbon.
Yeah.
In 2025, $7,000.
$7,000. The Enduro Expert Carbon.
$7,000.
I was trying to find that exact bike. Where'd I go?
So, equivalent, you would have paid $8,000 for that bike.
Hold on. I'm at Specialized website right now on the Enduro.
There's
Enduro
two comps. Oh, that's 2023.
23?
Yeah, bestseller.
23.
They still have 2023s.
They still have 23s on their website selling. But a 2025 is $5,000.
So it's gotten even cheaper.
But it's SLX 1x
Full carbon frame.
full carbon, but now it's got a Zeb, still Specialized wheels. So like it's maybe a little bit of a downgrade in the shifting, but that's kind of it. But it gets TRP brakes, which are better than the guides by like a lot.
Zeb fork. That's
So
pretty basic.
$5,000 for this. The other one was $6,000.
Mm-hmm.
So adjusted for inflation, that was even more.
$8,000.
You're doing a lot better with Specialized Enduro now than you did.
And if you get the 2023 model, it's actually...
Do we remember these bikes costing? I do remember when mountain bikes started hitting the like over $5,000 point. Because for a long time, mountain bikes kind of maxed out around $5,000. Like that was going to be it. And road bikes had really exotic stuff that was pushing 10 here and there. And then about this time, about 2014, 15, the mountain bikes started coming up over $5,000, over $6,000, over $7,000, and right around $8,000 was starting to feel like insanity for buying a mountain bike 10 years ago.
Well, everything started to go to carbon, and that was the upsell. Was that it was carbon fiber, and it had to be a lot more because it's carbon fiber. It has to be most premium price. I mean, carbon's nice, but it's like I would rather take that somewhere else in the frame or in the build and save money on an aluminum frame and go with better shocks, better brakes, run.
So as I'm
dirt
looking,
cheap.
yeah, I mean, cost-wise, they're not too far. To be
They're not
honest,
bad.
I expected modern bikes to be overpriced because I felt like that's just what our industry has been doing to us. Because see, they like to do that. They like to give it to you in ways you don't want. That's what they like. But
Well, it's been going
perhaps
up
I'm
and
wrong.
up and up and up and up.
I think all I'm saying is I've been doing this for so long. I'm just so accustomed to it that it all just feels the same. Because it is pretty much the same. If you spend, the upper end of your paychecks for the upper end of stuff, you're getting pretty much a similar bike. Not a similar bike, but like what you're buying now is neither greater or worse value for your money than what it was 15 years ago or 10 years ago.
Yeah.
10 years, sorry. Now, that brings us to this question, Nick.
Dude, we got one more bike though.
Oh, we got another one? I forgot.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go. What's our next comparative price and bike?
The Trek Remedy 9.
Yes, a popular bike. I owned a
with-
Trek Remedy myself, but it was in 2010.
Yeah. And I'm already seeing a trend that sites that we've gone to their prices are lower than than MSRP that I got price wise. So stuff is priced cheap. Like we are in the bike apocalypse right now where brands are trying to get rid of stuff. So this actually might not be a bad time to pick up a new bike.
Right.
Because once stuff starts to move again, it's going to get pricier.
All right, I'm trying to pull up images and stuff of a 2015 Trek Remedy.
The Remedy 9
See what
in
we
2015
what we were making.
said it was $4,500.
Remedy 9.
Yep.
Okay.
So dropper post, Fox 36.4.
Remedy was a 160 mil travel bike, I believe.
Yeah. This is a pretty good ripper.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm gonna cough.
The Remedy 9 in 2025 is $5,000. So it has gotten less when adjusted for inflation.
It's gotten what?
It's gotten less expensive.
Cheaper.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. So it came with a Fox 34.
Oh, 34. That's two less than a
SRAM
36.
1 by. It looks like X1. They call it X1 at that point. Bontrager rhythm wheels. Again, euros. Why do I get sent to sites with euros and Canadian money?
European, dude.
There's only $1. This is the only kind of money that's real.
Yeah, dollar bill, y'all. So, yeah, the Remedy 9 is actually... So, with all these comparisons, it's pretty comparable, actually, price-wise.
Price-wise, things aren't as bad as I thought that they were.
But we're also not looking at the
I thought
ultra
we were
high end. Like, these are good level bikes. You
Yeah,
could go
there's
rip
still a
on.
chunk of money, but yeah.
You could go hit the trails. You could hit a little bit of light downhill, like a Winter Park downhill day. Maybe if you're feeling lucky, go a little more. You could also ride trails. These are your run-of-the-mill
They were the do-it-all.
enduro bikes. But not bad. And with that, there's where you gonna spend your money? What are you gonna do? I know Jeff Young's gonna buy at least 3 new bikes, because that's what he does every year.
Every year, so many bikes.
Every year, he's a consumer. We were talking about this last night. How many bikes are you gonna buy this year, Jeff Young?
He's at like 0.5 already because Sorry, I was trying to find a modern remedy. They just have frame sets on their website. What the fuck is?
It's gotten bad.
I'm just trying to find a fucking bike, and all Trek
Mountain?
has for sale in the remedy is frame sets.
Bike industry's a mess.
Dude, it's such a mess. Nothing makes sense.
Actually, and one thing that surprised me is Trek had some of their higher end bikes in aluminum, which is awesome. Like, great. Like,
yeah, they used to. A lot of companies used to make. They used to make higher end spec aluminum bikes.
no, last year I was looking at.
Did they have one last year?
Yeah, like
I don't believe it.
it's like 5 grand aluminum bike, which is great. Like, why?
But we're gonna have to do another episode on the lower tier because I feel like maybe that's where we're getting screwed because you're probably paying $5 grand and getting like SRAM's like SX group set, which is dog shit.
As far as derailleurs, I prefer dog shit.
You
'Cause
might
break them. Break them.
stop doing that.
I mean, I don't care about the
yeah,
derailleur.
but that's usually,
like,
but
even,
we could. I'm using that as to sort of represent the rest of the build kit is probably not too far off that either. They're probably like maybe code R brakes.
I love it, dude.
Don't love
Give them to me.
for $5 grand.
My brakes will get faded, and I'll get faded.
We'll just fade. We'll just fade away. Okay, we'll have to do that next show. It's gonna be we'll compare the cheaper stuff. But
Faded. But where I like the value is I don't care about the derailleur. There is no front derailleur. Like,
right.
the crankset can be a basic. Like, SLX is perfect.
yeah,
It's perfect.
I mean, I only ride DBO cranksets, but
Most premium.
but
like-
you can ride that SLX shit if you want.
Dude, I'd ride Dior. I don't care.
I think we need to go back to the episode where your bike sucks.
Dude, it does fine. It works. It gets the job done.
No,
And then when
cranksets are definitely a thing where, whatever.
and you live in Colorado where you're just gonna scrape it.
These purple, I know. I did one ride with my new purple DVOs, and they're just scratched up.
Like, oh.
I did Dakota Ridge South, and it's all like techie rocks on that trail. So just
Yeah.
just one ride in, it's like, well, might as well just scratch the shit out of them to begin with. So
Dude, your derailleur is just gonna drag on rocks. Your cranks are gonna hit stuff. So what's the point? And that's actually
the derailleur needs to shift gears, but where the shitty derailleurs come into play is they slap around so much because the clutch mechanisms are terrible,
yeah.
awful. I mean, shifting is terrible as well because the pivot scale
SLX is like the good.
it's okay.
good
SLX
medium.
is fine, but I was saying SRAM's SX on like a $5,000 bike, bad.
Haven't ridden it yet.
It's terrible. I don't ride it, but I try to fix it all the time because people are riding it and it works poorly, and you have to do your. It's in that category we were talking about on like bikes that suck because it's such a cheap product. It's very hard to actually make it keep running well.
A lot of stamped steel.
Yeah.
Just stamped.
Just wiggly diggly all over the place.
Cookie cutter stamped.
All right, and similarly with SRAM's cheap code brakes, they feel spongy and squishy all the time. They're also prone to the seal swelling. They're just not good brakes. They do work better than like a guide brake from 10 years ago. but they're still prone to issues. So, but I feel like at $5,000, this is where I'm struggling. At $5,000, should you have a bike that is like you can just fucking rally?
Yeah, Commensal.
I know that's a very specific question, but like
I like the Commensal or Commensal. It's French. I don't know how to pronounce it, but Commensal. How do you pronounce it? Commensal.
It is French. You just go like this.
Bonjour, monsieur.
It's bullshit.
He's got a very big. But they put good suspension on it, and they put cheap drivetrain parts on it, like Dior, SLX. Not on all their stuff, but the lower level stuff. It's like, where are they giving you the value? I want the value in the suspension and the brakes, and like a decent running frame. Like it can be aluminum. I'm pretty bare bones. I don't need I don't need full carbon everything. Even though I have a bike that's full carbon everything, I wish I didn't have it.
I have one that is carbon frame only, and one that's not, and I like them both. They're
I actually
great.
wish that I didn't have carbon cranks because I drag them on stuff.
It's okay. They can do that. They can do that.
Suspect.
All right. Let's bring this around to this question.
We're going to bring it around. In 10 years.
No. We're still
Wrong question.
Would you take a bike from 10 years ago and ride it now?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What drawbacks do you think any of those bikes are going to have?
Dude. I mean, I only had the process. I had that 2018 to 2020. I sold it during the pandemic. The only reason I sold it is just a little bit too much bike for the daily ride. You know, like 6+ inches of travel is like a little bit too much.
Right.
It rode great. It did awesome downhill. It was a little downhill bike.
Right, but we're on the Front Range of Colorado where
Yeah.
all of our trails are climb up for 45 minutes to an hour and then descend for 15 minutes.
So I just wanted to trade it out for something in the 5-inch travel range. And I did that. So I rode it for 2 years, ended up selling it during the pandemic. Like, actually made a little bit of money off of it. And then bought a YT Jeffsy carbon. And that bike's been great. And that's actually a 2018 model.
Okay.
So I went 2015 to 2018. It's fine. Does what I need it to do. I think the only thing that I would say is rear shock. I'd like a little bit better rear shock. It's a basic. It's a Fox RP whatever 23 with a switch, and you go da, 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 da. It's got rebound, a little bit of compression adjustment. That's it. Nothing special. Oh, back when they had the bar, the equalizer.
Well, so
He's looking at
I
Felts,
kind of
guys.
I
He's
kind of
looking at
forgot
Felts.
about these. This is where I was. So I was in 2015 and 16. I was also riding a Felt Virtue.
It's very virtuous.
Virtuous. It
Let's
was
take a
a 130 rear, I think 140 front bike. Okay. The question I'm really kind of mulling over is would I take what I was riding in 2015 and ride it now? And I'm at the point of saying no. Well, because one, there was that Scott Genius, which was just too many chain rings, too little fork. I mean, it came with knobby nick, like old Schwalbe knobby nick tires that I shredded on the first ride. So I swapped, obviously, tires. You can't, is not a fair estimation of a whole bike with tires. But that 2015 Scott, no. 27-inch wheels on a 25-pound bike. I don't know what I'm doing with that bike.
I think
It's fast cross country stuff. That's it.
I think
That's all that bike is going to be for, and that's not really kind of where I'm at right now.
One, I just noticed your tires.
Dude, yeah.
Oh my god.
Holy shit.
And
I forgot to talk to you about those. Those are fucking great.
I think your taste in bikes has gotten better.
My taste in bike. Well, I was trying to sell these bikes, so I was writing what I was trying to sell, and what I was trying to sell was what I had access to be able to sell. So, whatever. I couldn't be a Santa Cruz dealer in 2015.
Why? Because you were between two huge Santa Cruz dealers?
Because the one Santa Cruz dealer lost their dealership to the other one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's not like being in the shadow of Wheat Ridge Cyclery, who is Santa Cruz, Trek, Specialized, Yeti, like that. I know we weren't like directly in their neighborhood, but I mean we were close enough to not be able to get any brands. So I was like Scott, which was a good brand, but
Yeah.
they were a little bit behind progress. Felt they were good in a lot of stuff. They were not a good mountain bike brand. Now, that said, the Felt Virtue, to date, some of my fastest mountain biking times on the Strava things were on that fucking bike.
They had Strava back
And
then?
I don't know, that's when we started using it more. I rode that bike at Keystone like more that summer than I've ridden any other bike. Again, 130, 140 bike. I rode the shit out of it. It's not like an enduro bike. It was maybe an aggressive cross country bike. I don't even remember the details on it, but it was this. Oh, go away, come back.
Okay, so it's starting to come back to me. In like the period of like 2013 to 2015, I had quite a few bikes because I was working in a shop and I was trading out every year. And there were some years where I had multiple mountain bikes.
That's what we did. Yeah.
So there was also
that's what I was doing.
I got to ride our Noli.
No, yeah,
We
yeah.
became a Noli dealer, so I got to ride the Endorphin. I owned an Endorphin for a season. I also got to ride the bigger free ride bike, like the 7-inch travel bike. I rode that quite a bit. I put some miles on that. And dude, that bike was really good. The Endorphin was also amazing.
So this felt. Oh, I broke my stool.
Broke the stool.
Pull it up.
I'm not pulling it up.
Bring
Pull
it
it
up
up.
over there.
You mean like on the screen?
This is what I was riding also 10 years ago. Yeah, yeah. Would I take this bike back today? No, I wouldn't. Kind of yes, because I'd really be curious to see if my experience now. I had a really good experience on this bike for a season.
You had a little
I
love
rode
affair.
it a bunch. I had a lot of fun. I never had any complaints really about it. Head tube angle, for sure, could have been out there, and that was something that I tried to get them to alter. But pedaled fucking great. I felt comfortable on it. I felt fast. I had a really good time on that bike. So maybe there's a little bit of nostalgia, cocaine sprinkled into my my thinking here a little bit. But that bike was, and again, if we're going, boy, I hate bringing up the fact that I rode this bike because people are just like, "Are you fucking kidding me? You rode a Felt?"
You rode a Felt?
I rode a Felt and I liked it. And I have to admit that.
That's a little weird for me.
I know it's a little weird. I'm aware of this. I'm aware.
You brought up two weird mountain bike brands, Scott and Felt. Like,
especially from that era.
They're not known.
No,
for
not known. Like I said, I wasn't in a position to just have any bike brand that I wanted at that point. I had to be able to. I had to have what was accessible to me for the region, which that was kind of it. We tried to get Transition, but Salvagetti had Transition.
What? No, we didn't have Transition.
You had Transition. You know why you had Transition? Because you guys just wanted to sell the clunker. You might not have even been working there at that point. You had like one.
I worked there from
clunker.
09.
You had like one or two clunkers on the floor, and
dude.
so Transition was like, "Well, Salvagetti's the dealer," and you guys were just up the street. So.
Oh, I remember that now. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Oh. So I'm trying to go back. I'm looking at my profile. Like, what bikes?
What
so
were you riding?
I had the Santa Cruz Butcher.
The Butcher, that's the one you were
Yeah,
talking. You meant to
6-inch
go.
travel bike. I had the Hanzo. I had 2 Hanzos. I had the first year they came out.
Okay, Hanzo, yeah, hardtail.
It first came out with quick release,
Sure.
9-speed, 1x. Then it came out with a solid axle and then 1x10. So I had both of those years. I also had Instigator, when they redid the Instigator from Surly. Terrible bike, hated it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, those were some of the bikes I had. I had a Spot as well. I had a Spot longboard, the hardtail that they came out with.
Oh yeah, I remember that. The one with the like two-face paint.
Yeah, it was not good. Actually, here's a picture from the Kona. What year was that? 2013. Yeah, Kona Hanzo, right there, hitting dirt jumps.
He's showing me a photo of the handlebar, so you guys aren't missing out on anything.
Yeah, you're not missing out.
He's trying to find this bike. He's like, here's the bike. It's a handlebar. Nobody cares.
Oh yeah, I had the Noli in 2013 too. So
Okay, also
I had
Noli.
that for a year, 2013 to 2014, and then I think I had the Butcher after that.
So here's the thing,
yeah.
because I'm looking back, all I wanted was a up to date good version.
Oh,
of the
I had the
Virtue.
Butcher in 2012.
I wanted this Virtue with a 65, 66 degree head angle, and like a little bit bigger fork, a little more travel, and they just wouldn't fucking do it. He's got a picture of 2 bikes in like a fucking laundry room.
So
He thinks you guys can see this because
no, I'm
sometimes
just
you can
showing
see
you.
mine.
Just
He's
showing.
showing me, so I'm going to describe to you what I'm seeing on Nick's computer.
it's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It's great. Technology is the best. Anyway, going back to the old versus new, I think we have the cost kind of like it's not too. It's we're not getting
You're not getting that much.
screwed on cost
Yeah.
like I thought we were. However, could you buy a bike from 10 years ago and it be as good as a bike today? I think the answer is maybe close.
Pretty close.
Maybe close.
Dude.
It's not going to be a Felt or a Scott. Okay.
God,
It
no.
might be a Santa Cruz. It might be a Specialized. I don't think the remedies were there. Those remedies looked pretty weak from that era.
Yeah, Trek like is like the last to like get on the cool. Like they don't make bad bikes, but then
No.
like they don't
Yeah,
they don't always
remedy
catch
wasn't
up.
there. Because back then they had the Slash, which actually kind of fit the bill a little more.
Yeah.
I think they still do have the Slash, but I don't keep track because there's so many bikes.
So many bikes.
So many bikes.
I have to think about it a lot. I think about it a lot.
So no, I don't think, like, if I take a bike from 10 years ago, it's got to be, there's a few options that are doable.
Yeah.
And of those options, if you want it to be a bike now, there's a few things you're going to have to update or change. One is, I think, probably the dropper post. So many of those bikes came with like short, like 100, 125 mil dropper posts. You could easily get up to a 150. That's not too much of an expense to throw into a bike. 250, 350 bucks, right?
Yeah.
You can do that. Obviously, pay to have the suspension totally gone through and
Serviced.
serviced.
Yeah.
Because then you'll know if it actually maybe needs to be replaced or not. Might just need to be serviced. This is if you're buying a bike from 10 years ago. Drivetrain, you're generally going to be on a 1x11, which rock it until you can't. And then the cool thing is a 1x11's on an XT driver, so you can easily convert over to 1x12 for not that much money. Shifter, cassette, chain, derailleur. You're good to go.
All right.
Not too much of a change for an old bike. And then probably one of the biggest things, my biggest complaints about most of the bikes from that era is bad brakes. We spent a lot of time on pretty crummy brakes. I'm seeing a lot of enduro category bikes with guide brakes. And I know the Guide, when it came out, was like their 4-piston, like bigger brake, because everything else that the SRAM made was 2-piston. But the Guide brake is just not it's not a good brake. But you
SRAM's
can swap
always,
that over. So you could take.
I mean, they've always had issues with like seals. Like
Well,
they
yeah,
put
the
the
brakes
wrong
have always
seal
been-
on it, and then it's like,
Yeah, the brakes have always been a little crummy in that regard. But, like, if you were if you were trying to ride a bike from 10 years ago, make it work for today, you've got to consider I think you have to consider those things. That's not a small amount of money that you're going to have to throw into it. If you buy brakes, full suspension work over, a dropper post, maybe some drivetrain stuff.
yeah,
So that bike, you'd have to get that bike for pretty fucking cheap.
yeah. You don't buy that bike from Colorado. You buy that bike from Florida.
Oklahoma.
Someplace.
What other states can we just shit on for no reason?
Well,
Nebraska.
the
Yeah.
states where there's not like rocky, aggressive, like where they don't actually ride the bikes on gnarly terrain.
Yeah.
That's what you're looking for.
I think our viewers get it. I think they understand the difference between Colorado and Florida.
You think like
I
I
hope
don't
so.
think there's a lot of rock. There's sand, but there's not a lot of rocks there. Not like we have here. It's
Well,
the
let's
Rocky
find out.
Mountains.
JP, you gonna clue us in on Florida?
You ever seen a rock there?
There are none.
There are none.
They're underneath the swamp.
I think there were outliers, brands that were ahead of their time. I would say Santa Cruz is definitely a brand that I think could stand up. A Santa Cruz from 10 years ago.
Santa
could
Cruz
still-
from 10 years ago is going to stand up. A Specialized Enduro from 10 years is going to stand up. What else?
Noli? Like,
The
like,
Nolis from 10 years are going to stand up. Transition from 10 years ago, it's close. They were on the edge.
I think Kona, that was
Kona
right
for sure.
at that time. Where
Definitely felt.
Oh, God, no. Not the felt, dude.
Oh my goodness.
So there's some brand. I mean, I think the brands that were on the pulse of mountain biking, and that was also 10 years ago was when enduro was officially like came out.
It birthed.
Before enduro, we did all mountain or downhill or trail riding. Like
There was mountain biking and there was downhill. There was cross.
there's all mountain.
Enduro is
Dude.
racing.
There's all mountain.
Hold on, are we?
2012,
We have to agree on something.
all mountain.
Enduro is racing only, right? Enduro is not racing.
Enduro's a lifestyle, buddy. Everyone knows enduro is a
I
lifestyle.
think the lifestyle is past, man.
It's a race, but it's also a lifestyle.
And it's a kind of bike.
And
It is a kind of bike now.
yeah,
Okay.
if a bike's under 5.5 inches of travel, it's not enduro. If a bike has 26-inch wheels, definitely can't enduro that. You can't enduro.
You cannot
26
enduro
inches.
26
No.
inches. No.
Impossible.
Good. I mean, in at this point, you can only enduro 27.5 if it's on the back.
Yeah, and then really good riders are going 29.
Yeah. The best ones.
But before 2020, was it 2012, 2013, 2014? Like, no
What?
one
What's your
said
question?
enduro. The only thing that people said was like there was one model called the enduro.
yeah, I don't even remember when it came out.
The enduro came out in 2003,
Oh, really?
2004. Yeah, because
They
I was
were
at a
way-
shop.
They were way ahead of.
Yeah, I was at a shop when
They had
the
a
enduro
time
came
traveler.
out.
They had a
A
time
Specialized
traveler.
dealer. So yeah, the enduro came out, but
Okay.
like way ahead of its time, like 10 years
So
ahead
I
of its
guess
time.
enduro is not just racing.
It's not. It's a lifestyle. I did a little video called "What's Enduro."
I do know about it.
It's almost at 200,000 views. Just saying, dude.
So all you million viewers who are watching us, get on that.
Look up "What's Enduro." It'll explain everything. Chia hemp kale.
The next bike I had after, 10 years ago, I'm not trading out. Anything that I had 10 years ago, I'm not riding today. I did not have I didn't have any of the cool brands. So I can't tell you. I never rode a Santa Cruz. I actually don't know if I've ever trail ridden a Santa Cruz at all.
Okay, here's the thing is we were a Santa Cruz dealer. The only Santa Cruz that I owned was the Butcher because I didn't like how it pedaled really well.
Yeah.
But unless you bought it with a Monarch, because the way the Fox were tuned, it felt weird. It didn't jump well. That was my issue with it. It pedaled really well, and if you kept the tires on the ground, for me,
smash.
It smashed. But like you go to
yeah,
jump
that's all
it,
that matters.
it did some weird stuff with the Fox Fork. I later rode one with a Monarch. That did way better because they specifically tuned it for Santa Cruz to work with their bikes.
Well, they probably had the Fox as well. Just maybe they didn't do the job.
No,
that
because
you
Fox
wanted
only has low, medium, high tuning for their rear shocks.
They have custom tunes for
They didn't
brands.
do it. They didn't do it for Santa Cruz
Well,
because they just came with the low tune or whatever. It was night and day riding the Monarch to the Fox.
Fair.
For me, like you could jump it. It handled way better. I think the other bike that I rode that I really enjoyed was actually the Pivot in that time frame.
Never trail ridden one.
So 10 years ago, yeah, the Pivot. The Giants actually did really well, like the Giant Rain, and then the Giant, the shorter travel one. Those were really fun to pedal, and they jumped decently. Like you could hop them and jump them. And
You would have liked to felt
gnarly.
Virtue,
think not, sir.
baby. You would have loved it.
Some of our audience live enduro every day.
Every day they do.
You ever enduro on Colfax?
No. Actually, yeah. I enduro Federal Boulevard frequently. It's a smash. It's a smash route for sure.
Well, I think that's
You
going
just
to take
buckle
us.
up. Yeah.
I think that's going to take us to the end. I think that there.
Yeah.
I think there are some brands that stand up, like you said in the
There's
closing.
some stuff that stands up from 10 years ago that you can definitely still ride today with a few changes. Go for it. There's a lot of stuff that was in progress, but
Here's one. Maverick.
yes. Maverick?
So when I first moved here, the first
No.
mountain bike ride I did was
No.
on a Maverick.
Well, good for you.
Upside down fork, Maverick, dropper post. Before anything came with dropper post, this was 2009.
We need to get our boy Ethan in here to discuss Maverick. Ethan from Flow Zone Suspension. He can educate us inside and out on Maverick.
It was an interesting bike. I mean, this is the first couple rides I did was on the shop demo.
Yeah, I rode a Maverick fork on a Trek 69er single speed.
I don't think it was, but they had a 24 millimeter front axle. I don't think it did pedal really well. It wasn't. It felt really weird in the cranks because the crank was the pivot. Mm-hmm. So like when you were jumping stuff and ripping, it was a little weird. But
yeah, I rode one that was on when Gary Fisher had
yeah.
had it licensed.
Palomino.
For a year or so. Yep.
Yeah.
Palomino. Yep.
Oh, weird.
Bikes is weird. This is not an episode on weird bikes. It is an episode on kind of weird old bikes. I feel like 2015 is a pretty good marker for when things changed, bike-wise, mountain bike-wise.
Yeah.
Dropper posts really started to come into prevalence. One buys were starting to come into, being common on a lot of bikes. We were getting bigger forks. We were getting stronger wheels, stronger tires, kind of across the board.
Dude, wider tires.
Wider
Finally.
tires,
Wider
and wider
rims.
Yeah. All was sort of coming in right around that 2015 point.
Dude,
and
before 2015, rims were like,
yeah, they were all like 25 millimeters internal at the most.
You're like, so narrow.
Mm-hmm.
It was ridiculous. Like full on downhill. You had to get a full on downhill rim to get what was the Mavic like rim? The 729 or something, like 29 millimeter. The 729.
I don't know. Mavic never really got on board with making wide enough rims.
Oh no, they were
ever
the widest one, but that was like the one you bought because like Mavic was the best manufacturer, like quality.
Right. Yeah.
But like, yeah, the 729 I think was like, and the 29 is how many millimeters wide it was, and it was 29 millimeters. And that was like,
Beautiful.
that was like crazy. Like, you put that on your full downhill rig, we're gonna go rampage.
Yeah, I definitely, based on the extensive research that we've done, I think there's definitely some bikes you could pick through from 2015
Research, I lived it, dude.
and go out and actually have a good time on today. It's not all of them.
No, I think you could pick up a bike from like 2018 to 2019 and be stoked on it.
Be just fine. Well, my
Yeah.
fucking Ransom frame is still a 2019.
Yeah.
I think maybe 2020, same year. It's the same thing.
I think going back 10 years, you're going to look at like just stuff being just beat. Unless you find some old inventory.
Right.
Like that
Old
last.
inventory or garage kept, girlfriend only ridden.
Divorce spike.
Right. Divorce
Like,
bikes, those
I
are
don't
the
care. I'll tell him I sold it for $100.
ones. Those are the ones you do the Craigslist divorce search. That's a fun one. Just search divorce on Craigslist and see what's for sale.
Next episode.
Next episode. What's for sale on Denver Craigslist in the divorce category for bikes?
Bikes and cars. I think that'd be like the categories.
Yeah.
All right.
This
All
was
right.
fun. Thanks for hanging out. I don't think we have any other greater conclusions. Pretty simple. I was really hoping to find some like, salacious stuff on how expensive bikes are now, and it seems like they're actually kind of priced.
The market's down hard.
So, well,
the
market's down, and companies are still selling stuff for way cheap because they're selling it at discount. But like what their MSRPs were, still pretty comparable to what it was for what you'd get 10 years ago.
Not bad.
Which I will give them some credit for in that regard. I will, however, not give them credit for overstocking themselves during the pandemic and having to deal with it to today. But anyway.
You get no credit.
You get no credit, bike industry. Thanks for hanging out. I think that's it.
I think that's it.
Next time we're going to look at cheap bikes.
Cheap bikes?
Cheaper mountain bikes from 10 years ago to today.
All right.
Everything we looked at was like on the upper end of the spectrum, which seems to
But there's
stayed
$15,000
steady.
bikes now. We looked at stuff from $4,000 to $8,000.
I think what we need to do is be like, okay, I have $5,000 right now. What could I buy?
A good time on Colfax.
Depends on which end of the street you're talking.
Either end. You go West Colfax, you're gonna have a good time.
West Colfax, you're gonna have a good time, but you're gonna have
Go
to work
east.
harder for it.
Go East Colfax.
East Colfax, it's gonna be easy, and you're gonna be able to spread that money a lot.
But
further.
West Colfax, you got Casa Bonita.
Yeah, you do. That's on is it on Colfax? Yeah, it's on Colfax.
Yeah, it's on Colfax. Casa Bonita.
Casa Bonita.
Well, thanks for joining us.
We
Take
are
care of
glad
yourself.
to have enlightened you for the night. Thank you.
And we'll see you next week. I think. Yeah, we'll see you next week.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Probably.
It's a definite maybe. Good night.
Good night.